morning, my fellow nerds. How you guys doing today? Camera angle seems kind of off today. Oh, there it is. Alrighty, so, what am I going to talk about? That's actually a good question. I did not think before I hit the record button. Here's a kind of a good subject. If I owned a comic book company, what would I do? I think that's pretty good. I love comics, you know. Let's see. I believe I mentioned in the Invincible previous video, that I have the entire Astounding Wolfman series on physical copies of them. If they made more than what I own, I mean, it is possible. I mean, I think I got to the end, and then I think the character Wolfman started bouncing around to different titles. Kind of depends. I'm not really like an expert or anything like that, but yeah, I have read a ton of Marvel though, not as much DC, unfortunately. I haven't read too much DC. So, but what I have read and what I have, seen, kind of gives me what I would kind of fix with the comic book industry. And if I owned a comic book company, that'd be kind of like my goal, to kind of show how it really kind of should be done. And I really kind of I've been thinking about doing this, not the idea for this video, but I kind of the idea of if I own a comic book company, what I do. I've been thinking about this for years at this point, and so I just kind of figured, now would be a kind of a good. I mean, it's never really a good time, but it's never really a bad time either. It's just a time. Like, I figured I might as well just do it now. So if I owned a comic book company, what would I do? All right. Well, obviously I don't know like the ins and outs of starting a comic book company. So obviously I would need to find writers and authors, and first and foremost, I would try to figure out. I would come up with a way that would let them own the characters, but I would make them like sign a contract that if they were to like leave the company, I would have the option of purchasing the characters from them, or if they decided against that, if they hated me that much or anything like that, if they feel like they were getting a better deal, I would basically say that the character couldn't be published from them for a certain amount of time, like 5 or 10 years. Seems kind of excessive, but at the same time, I do want to but the goal for that, at least, would be to create a distance between the new publisher or me. So, like, the goal would be to create some distance. That way, it would kind of fade from the mind, and honestly, it would actually kind of help them out in the long run, because, after a while, there might be a resurgence of popularity. You never know. Kind of depends on the new publisher. So, that would be kind of my first step. Now, what rules within the established comics would I kind of have? First thing I would do is death is permanent. There's no coming back. I'm sorry. Death of Superman was a great idea, but it royally fucked the idea of anyone coming back. And people staying dead. Death is, Superman dying was like the first real like major character death in comics, as far as I know. I'm not a super expert, but it was a big deal. Superman was Superman. I mean, he was the biggest character in the world, figuratively speaking. And then he dies, but everyone kind of figured he would come back. I mean, he was too popular, and so I mean, really, that storyline kind of like made death, a non-permanent thing in the comics. So the one thing I would do is death is permanent, no coming back, ever. All right, you can have characters go down to the underworld, and I would kind of put a limit on that, but for the most part, nope, they're dead, they're gone, no more. Second thing I would do is I would put a limit on powers. Like, And it's not that I would set the limit. You know, it's not like, oh, no character can lift more than, 100,000 pounds. No. I would have them, from the concept, basically write down the limits of the characters. And that would be the limit that the character would have. Because one thing I really don't like is comic book characters, and, even anime kind of does this. Like, this is one of the reasons why I hate fucking Dragon Ball. It's like, the concept of, and another reason why I don't like Superman either. So, like, just kind of be fair, this is why I don't like Dragon Ball, this is why I don't like Superman too much, is that, if you, like, make these characters who are strong beyond belief, I mean, where's the threat? Where's the drama of it, And it just feels like it's kind of building and building and building. Like, you got to keep, having these situations that are just more extreme than the next in order to try to have something be a threat to these now, infinitely powerful people, So I would have them sit down and write a limit. If the character can only lift 100,000 pounds, they can only lift 100,000 pounds. If they lift 100,001 pound, they break something. Okay? And speaking, kind of going into breaking things, this is something else that you kind of see in comics. And so, rule number 3 I would have is linear timeline. One of the biggest problems with modern comics, DC and Marvel, is, when, for instance, here's a good example. When Spider-Man first came out, back in the late 60s, I think he was. I can't remember precisely when he came out. But, he started off as a freshman in high school. 4 years later, in both real and comic book world, he graduates high school. And then after that, time starts slowing down. So, with comics, it's kind of hard to, because it's like, say you have Batman who came out in the 30s, and Superman who came out in the 30s, or did Batman come out in the 40s? I forget who came out when. But it's like, you're looking back and it's like, okay, how much time has actually passed in comic book world? Because they update the technology. The technology in Action Comics #1, where Superman first premiered, is obviously it's 1930s technology versus 2020 technology. So how much time has actually passed? And I kind of wonder how comics actually reconcile that kind of like time, that difference in technology. That's kind of that'd be an interesting question for an actual comic book expert to answer. But, so a linear timeline. That means that these characters age. So if you have a character that, discovers that they're pregnant in January, by September, October, they better give birth. Or, tragically lose the baby. I'm sorry, but it can happen, especially if you're a superhero. So, yeah, linear timeline. I would institute that. So if they break a leg, they're going to have a broken leg for a while. Like, it's not going to be healed the next issue. Alright, so, linear timeline. Let's see. Another rule I would implement would be... Let's see... crossovers. That's one of my biggest problems with Marvel, and I kind of noticed DC doesn't do it nearly as much. With Marvel, I kind of noticed that they're both kind of even. Marvel does more crossovers more often, but I kind of think that DC does bigger crossovers. Marvel will have crossovers where, yeah, you'll have a bunch of characters involved, but there's still a bunch of characters not involved that aren't really affected by these crossovers. Whereas DC, it just seems like every comic is involved in the crossover, from what I've seen. Like I said, I'm not an expert, but no crossovers. And every once in a while, I would probably, if I did, and I'd probably do, like, maybe once a year, a non-canonical crossover. Not canon in any way, shape, or form. All right. So at that point, the rules can be thrown out for this crossover because it's just something fun. Just kind of like flexing the creative muscles and the absolute possible what if situations. So one crossover a year, non-canonical, allowing the artists and creators to go crazy, you know. Then another rule I would have, I actually thought of one as I was just talking, and then it decided to leave my head. I hate it when that happens. But another rule I would have, shoot. And I think it was a good one too. I can't remember what the hell it was. This is the problem with not really having a script, you know. Let's see. Oh, not going kind of into the crossover thing. You know, if artists and creators wanted to do all of them in the same world, you know, obviously crossing over with each other's hero, you know, isn't going to happen. But they could have a major secondary character, like a minor character who, you know, is featured not prominently in the comics, but, you know, makes regular appearances that can jump around between the different titles. Or they can have something that is prominent in the titles that, you know, is common in all of them. Like if like there's a very popular coffee shop that they all seem to frequent, but just at different times. Or if there's a you know, a police chief, a mayor, or something like that. You know, it would be something that established all these characters in the same universe. And I would maybe allow, you know, like maybe a news broadcast being like not heard, but you guys know what I mean, like where they would have like the little text bubble for newscasts. I would have them like say that this superhero was doing something. Especially, it would definitely help maybe kind of keep along with the time frame thing, you know, the timeline thing. So yeah, and really kind of, I mean, that would really be kind of it. You know, but yeah, and kind of one thing I'm kind of hoping that this would do is, especially with the whole, you know, death is permanent thing and with linear timelines, this would create kind of a revolving door for some of these superheroes. Because, like, say, you know, characters like Batman, you have these characters who take over the mantle, but you know, and this would be something that'd be kind of more prominent, you know, because then you can kind of have, you know, bring freshness to the title of the character without you know, using the same character over and over and over again. So it would just kind of keep things kind of fresh. And another reason, kind of why I would want to make comics kind of like this, is it would just be easier for people to be able to buy them in you know, in their entirety. I love manga, you know, and one of the biggest reasons I love manga is no crossovers, limited, you know, and they go from beginning to end. You can just buy the whole series, and you don't have to go out and buy 6 different titles, you know. And not only that, but a lot of manga don't run for very long, you know. I don't really know how many chapters, you know. I think only like maybe manga tip. I don't really know how manga really is broken up. I know Western comics are broken up by issues, you know, and then the trade paperbacks will be usually anywhere from 5 to 6 issues, and then compendiums will be, you know, and then they'll have, you know, not compendiums, but, you know, they'll have the Bulker series, which will have, you know, like 20, 30 issues, and then they'll have, you know, big compendiums, which will have like 100 issues. So I don't really know how they break up manga. I don't really know the breakup of those, but regardless, I mean, even if you buy like the manga books, it'd be easier to buy the whole series, and that's really kind of what I really would like people to do. So I'm trying to collect my thoughts here. So if we have a revolving door of people taking up the mantle, you can just go out and find all the issues that follow that one character, or that one you know, person who had the mantle, and you could buy all their issues, and you wouldn't have to buy any others, and you'd be able to understand them from beginning to end, you know. And So that'd be kind of it. You know, it's just something that makes buying comics easier for people. You know, to be able to say that I own the whole series without going broke. Because I had to stop reading comics, honestly, because I was reading too many titles, but also because some of them were just going on too long. And I had to make the choice between buying comics or, you know, feeding the wife and kids. I still don't know if I made the right choice, but, you know, it is what it is. But, yeah, so, there's probably a few rules I'm forgetting. Because, like I said, I've been thinking about this for several years, so I've come up with several rules and discarded several rules, but those are probably the biggest ones. You know, permanent death, linear timeline, you know, power restrictions. You know, that's what I feel like Western comics really needs. And if you remember, I made a video not too long ago talking about how talking about an article that came out that said that manga was outselling Western comics, superhero comics. And these are the biggest reasons. There's not enough consistency, too many issues within a title for people to buy. So, it is what it is. But I'm really kind of hoping maybe I can try to change that. So I think that's it for now. You guys have a good one. You guys know what to do, and yeah, you guys enjoy yourselves.